Here in Module 3, we talk about oral language, so both hearing language and using it ourselves, speaking. For this particular time with you, I want to talk about vocabulary. I think when most of us hear the word vocabulary, this is what we think of. Scores of worksheets, fill in the blank, matching, quizzes. Remember our weekly vocabulary that went with the story that we read in school. That is not what true vocabulary instruction should look like, especially when we're talking birth through 8 years old. Remember, we are early childhood. We are going all the way from birth through 8 years old. Our textbook does a really good job of describing what it should look like and giving lots of examples. I want to give a little bit of background that our textbook does not go into. And so I'm going to share with you 2 things here. One is specifically a Scantron standardized test. It's actually called Scantron. And this standardized test, when you look here at the chart by learning objectives and you see reading measures, you'll see there that there are 4 things they're assessing. They're assessing vocabulary, fiction, nonfiction, and long passages. So for fiction, nonfiction, and long passages, you're talking about reading. Vocabulary. Vocabulary is figuring out words that mean the same thing. Often, sometimes opposites, antonyms. But really, that on a standardized test, that's what they're doing. So when you are talking about standardized tests and how children are doing across the United States, one of the measures that they use, because it's directly related to how children are doing in their reading abilities, is vocabulary. When you look at other IQ types of standardized tests, such as the Woodcock, the test of written language, the Gray oral reading test, test of reading comprehension, all of them will include an element of vocabulary. So you scroll down here where she summarizes these tests, and listening comprehension. It's going to come down to the vocabulary that the child is using. You keep going. Look, a subtest, vocabulary. My point is that when we think about how we are teaching reading, it is not how we think it might look, but we are doing it. I recently watched a video on Waldorf education, and the teacher was asked, "Tell me about reading." Waldorf is known for not teaching, quote unquote, reading until even as late as 3rd grade. And the teacher quickly said, "Oh, I teach reading all day, every day." And she's right, but it's not what we think it might look like. And in fact, research, like we learned in Module 1, shows us how often we are not doing it right, that our practice is not matching the reality of what children should be experiencing. So let's look into this. When we think about what vocabulary building should look like, our textbook in language and learning and literacy in preschool, in the first article, sagacious, sophisticated, and sedulous, including 50-cent words to preschoolers, on pages 9, 10, and 11, they identify 4 practices that all of us, working from infants through elementary, middle school, high school, should be using. They're talking about preschoolers. I'm saying with every child. Introduce new words and concepts. Use them. Clarify what something means by connecting it to what a child already knows. Help the child deepen their understanding and use conversations to clarify and practice. In this module, we're going to use reading to springboard that. And so you have an assignment with the very snowy day to think about other words, rich vocabulary that could be introduced with it. I'll be frank, too often students do not spend enough time with a 10-point assignment. Maybe I should change it to 100 points. It seems very simple, but yet this assignment should take 20 to 30 minutes if you're doing it right. I am going to practice with you for a second, because doing it right means you're also thinking about how to build your own vocabulary. And often I'll get students say, I don't really have a great vocabulary. What do I do? Well, you read. And when I say you read, that means you read the newspaper, you read articles online, you read books. Right now you're reading your textbook, and that helps. You use a thesaurus. When you sit down to do this assignment next, you need to use a thesaurus. If you are not using a thesaurus, you are not doing the assignment right. You need to read. Do you see a theme in my list? You need to plan, which means you need to sit down and you need to make lists for the week at school. Word walls are not just for kids. Word walls are for teachers. If I was in a preschool classroom, if I was in a toddler classroom, if I was in a kindergarten or first grade or second grade or third grade classroom, there would be a list of at least 20 words, at least 20. The older kids, maybe even more, of words we want to use that week. And that list would be printed on a piece of paper and on my desk and at my reading table and at circle time and hanging by the door. That list would be given to every teacher that walks in the room to do anything. Because the more we use it, the more they'll use it. The richer the words, the more rich words they will use. So let's practice this idea looking at a book. And I'm going to read Barnyard Boogie. Okay, right there. What is a word we should add to our list? Boogie, right? Okay, well now I'm going to come up with synonyms for boogie. Dance, jig. You might even choose, based on the illustrations, perhaps foursquare, to see if the kids know what square dancing is. The title Barnyard Boogie, barnyard. One might even wonder, should we define barnyard? And that's going to be dependent on your population. Using the illustrations of the book, planning, thinking. Let's read the first page. The first page says, the Barnyard Band is performing today. All the musicians are ready to play. Two words jump out at me. Performing, musicians. So already on this page, I'm going to take those words and I'm going to think of other words that the kids could use or they might already know. What does performing mean? Talk about the difference between performing and practicing. I'm going to go to an online thesaurus. I'm going to look up other words for performing. Musicians, what does that mean? How is a musician different from a singer? How is a conductor different from a musician? Do you hear the word music and musician? See how we're teaching words, we're using words. It's all very playful. But yet we are offering an opportunity and exposing children, giving the children the opportunity to experience rich words. Horse brings the tuba, oompa doompa doo. Goat swings the sax. Honka, wonka, woo. So, tuba. Again, this book is very simple. It shows the picture. But the words, the alliteration here, the onomatopoeias being used. Do you know what onomatopoeia is? Go look it up. There's lots of onomatopoeias in this book and in lots of children's books. And so it's a very simple book, very understandable, appropriate for toddlers. And yet there would be so much opportunity for us to use rich words. On one page it says, the crowd is waiting to hear the show. How will they start? When will they go? Waiting. Such an ordinary word. But if I go to Chrome and I want a thesaurus, and I type in waiting, look at the words I could use. Ooh, anticipative, so anticipate, expecting, hopeful. And here's a fun one, tenterhooks, on tenterhooks. So you can teach children idioms too. The more we expose them to, the more we use around. And I don't mean sitting there and saying, oh, for waiting, we could say anticipating. No. Instead, when I look at that page and I'm reading, I would read, the crowd is waiting to hear the show. How will they start? When will they go? And I'd say, oh, look at the animals. They are being so patient. They are anticipating such a great performance. Anticipating. What do you think I meant by anticipating? And then you and the children might talk about what anticipating is. And later in the day, around outside time when we're coming in for lunch, I might say, is your stomach anticipating the satisfying meal we are going to have? It's kind of a silly way to talk in one way, but yet consider what we are exposing our children to by doing so. We know that the words we use matter because of the opportunity it gives children to experience language in a rich way that prepares them to be successful in school. Literature, the books we read, how we use the words in those books, and how we use those words to enrich our language in the classroom is key. Use a thesaurus. Make lists.